What's happening, guys? It's your boy, the Boxing Lowdown, here for episode number 112 of the TBL podcast, man. As always, I'm delighted to be joined by the main man in the building, man, my father, Laurie, representing DR Boxing over here. We've got a great show for you guys today. Earlier time of 5 o'clock, man. We're here at 5 today till 6. We've got to cut it short. It's been a bit of a hectic week, but we're here. We have to do the show, and we've got a very good one for you guys today. Laurie, how you feeling, man?
Yeah, good, man. Good. Looking forward to the weekend. Looking forward to it. There's some big events going on this weekend, man. Yeah,
Sure.
Saturday we got the fights, and then on Sunday the big game, man. Arsenal versus Man United, North versus South. You know what I mean? It's all popping off.
For sure, he's going off, man. Big up Himanshu, first of all, in the building. As always, guys, don't forget, when you're on the way into the show, hit the like button, share the video, subscribe to the channel. Always good to have my man Himanshu here, tunes in all the way from India, just to make the show.
Man.
Appreciate it. And it's short notice as well. So big up, man. I thank you for that. He says that was a low blow. Just to remind you, we got Francisco as well. So yeah, big up everybody, man. But we're gonna
actually on that. Let's just get that out of the way with this low blow thing, right? So after the fight, we did a show, didn't we? And I was like quite unequivocal. To me, that was a legal blow. And I think Usyk, whilst I'm not going to do the Don Charles thing and accuse him of cheating, I think he did, to be fair, he did what a lot of fighters would do in that same situation, which is claiming that he got hit low. And then the referee, let's be honest, he was a bit of a homer. I mean, it's the first time in my life I've seen the referee actively encourage a fighter to take one more minute after the fighter said, I'm ready to fight on. But anyway, the point I'm going to get to it, yeah? So at the time, I was quite unequivocal. The blow was legal, should have stood, and Dubois was robbed of either a KO victory by virtue of Usyk not getting up, or even if he did get up, I reckon Dubois would have had a very, very good chance of finishing him off. We will never know, obviously. Since then, there's been a lot of back and forth. A lot of people have had their say. I've actually looked at it from different angles. And you know what? I still say with perhaps a little less certainty that the shot was legal. And the reason why I say that is because if you look at fights over the years, we've seen many, many fights with shots in that same area, i.e. the belt line. And you know as well, Darryl, that those shots have been counted. And I named 3 examples last week. I gave you the Andre Ward. In fact, some people would argue that Ward hit Kovalev lower than that. I'm not going to necessarily say that, but some people would. There was the Terence Crawford, Amir Khan. Remember when Amir Khan was saying that he got low when clearly he didn't. And then, of course, there was when Amir Khan did a similar thing to Zab Judah. Zab Judah was writhing around on the floor claiming he'd been hit low. Nobody had any sympathy for those guys. They said, no, get up. It's a proper shot. You know what I mean? But so that's what it is. It's subjectivity once again, isn't it? But for me, that was a legal shot, although I would say it was borderline. So yes, I could understand why some people would say the shot was low, but I've watched it back. I've watched the footage back. I've seen camera shots from different angles. And as far as I'm concerned, it was a legal shot.
Yeah. Well, yeah, the controversy rages on. Been speaking to your boy, Shane, over the last few days. He's adamant that it was illegal. A lot, to be fair, I think the majority of people now, from what I've seen online, I have to say that it swayed a lot from last weekend. Last weekend, it felt like a lot more people were more on the Dubois side of it, where they felt that the shot was legal and he was unlucky. However, upon further review, it seems, even you've had to revise your comments a little bit, but upon further review, it seems that more people are now leaning to the fact that it was actually an illegal shot. And I don't think as well that it's helping Team Dubois, Don Charles, Frank Warren, the narrative that they're pushing that, you know, I think they're really going in heavy with this, and they're looking at it like, if it wasn't for this, then I know we spoke about it last week about Dubois potentially winning the fight based off of that. But, you know, it's hard to shake off the fact that he was dominated for 90% of that fight. And the fact that we don't know whether Usyk would have got up or not if the referee had started counting. Like, we physically don't know. We can have our opinion on it, but we don't actually know how he would have reacted if the referee had started counting. So for Frank Warren and Don Charles to, really throw this into everybody's face and saying, look, no, he was cheated, he was this and that. One thing that I will ask, and I want to get your answer on this as well, Dad, is on that low blow situation, why didn't Team Dubois say anything at the time? Why didn't they go up, like, jump on the apron and say, yo, why are you not counting? Like, why did they not say anything at the time? It doesn't help their case, does it? And I think it's a logical point that I've heard. Why haven't they said anything? Where was this energy during the fight? Why are they only saying it now? What do you
Yeah, I
think?
mean that's a good point. I guess they would answer it by saying they were focused on the fight. Um,
But
listen,
during that time when Usyk had all that, when he was wriggling around on the floor for the last 3, 4, 5 minutes, why didn't anyone say get up on the apron and say, "Yo, referee, what's going on?" Like, without risk of getting your fighter disqualified, I know, but why did no one say anything there? Why weren't Frank Warren complaining? Why weren't no one? I didn't see any of that.
yeah, I didn't see any of that either. And yeah, you make a good point. But also, the thing that struck me is that the amount of people that are jumping on this, oh, um, Usyk was going to win anyway. And listen, that is not the proper way to look at it. You have to look at that incident in isolation. A lot of people are looking at it and say, well, he had his chance, he didn't take it. Usyk won anyway. That is not the debate here. The debate here is, was the shot legal? Should the referee have taken up account? It's pure and simple, isn't it? All this revisionary nonsense, looking at things in retrospect. Yeah, but Dubois quit. Maybe he did. I think personally he did quit, right? That's another story. But if you look at the incident in isolation, as far as I'm concerned, that was a legal shot. And what annoys me, people like Shane, is there's two things. One, he's coming out with this, if you don't know that's legal, you don't know anything about boxing. Well, my answer to that question is numerous people across the boxing spectrum, fighters, trainers, journalists, fans, casual fans, have said that the shot was legal. Just as many people maybe are saying that it wasn't legal. So stop all this, you don't know anything about boxing if you can't see that was low, because I'm convinced that that shot landed on the belt line, which doesn't make it illegal. So there's that. And then the thing with Shane, and this is where I got a little irritated with him, is that I said to Shane, right, and I was being quite open, I said, listen, I've known you a long time and we've had lots of debates about boxing. And when we've spoken about fights like the Andre Ward Kovalev, Amir Khan, Zab Judah, the Amir Khan Terence Crawford, I've never once heard you say, and we've spoken about those fights at length, I've never once heard you say that those shots were low. Now all of a sudden, you're jumping on your high horse and saying it was a low shot. Come on, bro. You're, you know what I mean? You're being selective in your judgment. You know what I mean? So as far as I'm concerned, I know it's subjectivity comes into play. As far as I'm concerned, Dubois was robbed of an opportunity to either win the title or at the very least try and finish Usyk off. And like you said, we will never know whether he could have finished him off or not. That's a whole nother story. But what I'm saying, if you look at the incident in isolation, as far as I'm concerned, the shot was legal. The trajectory of the punch was going upwards and it hit him on the belt line. Now, there was a fight that weekend with F.A. Ajagba. He fought some guy, Kosabusi, and I watched that fight. Those punches were ridiculously low and they were deliberately low. And he ended up getting disqualified quite rightly by the ref. So, you know.
Comment here from Himanshu. He says here, Laurie, I don't agree with your robbery thing. When literally everybody said Loma was robbed, you said it wasn't a robbery, but Haney won a close unanimous decision. It's the same. Usyk won a controversial TKO, but not a robbery, in my opinion.
Well, I'm not saying that Dubois was robbed per se. I guess maybe robbery is a strong word then. Okay, I'll take back the word robbery. Yeah. Okay, Himanshu. Fair enough. Fair play. I'm prepared to, you know what I mean, reduce what I said, lower it down to home cooking. Because I'm telling you now, man, if Usyk had landed that shot and Dubois went down, do you really think that the referee would have called it a low blow? I guess we'll never know. But what I'm saying is, as far as I'm concerned, man, the blow was legal and a count should have been taken up.
Mm.
Now, would Usyk have got up in the 10 seconds? To me, it looked very doubtful. The way he was on the floor hurt. I don't know, man. I would have to say not. But some people are saying, yeah, he would have got up. Usyk himself has said, had the count been taken up, he would have got up. It's very easy to say that now in retrospect, in hindsight. But to me, at the time, he looked in a world of pain. In fact, he was doing a little mini spasm with his arm. You know what I mean? So even if he had a beaten the count, I'm not convinced that he gets out of the round because don't forget at that point in the fight, Dubois was still fairly fresh. So I'm assuming he would have gone for it. But what I won't entertain is when people say, "Yeah, but Dubois quit or Usyk was going to win anyway." That is not the point. You have to look at it in isolation.
Yeah. Wrestling God says here, Laurie, are you and the boys doing the big fight live tomorrow night on DR?
Unfortunately, it looks like we're not going to. We've got some problems with staffing. We've got a couple of people out, 1 or 2 people sick. So I'm hearing at the moment that we might not be able to cover it. I should know for sure in the next hour or two. But unfortunately, we've been struck down by illness to some of our production and technical staff. So that's unfortunate if we don't. But I'll let you all know. We'll put something out there.
Big up Mohammed, he says here, I've changed my mind. I think it was a low blow because the only part that landed on the body is the thumb of the boxing glove. Big up Jeff TV in the house, man. He says here, my guys, Lowdown and Laurie, good to see you guys. You might want to talk to Shane about that body shot. Usyk is Shane's uncle. Yeah,
yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Well, you know what, Jeff? You've said it right there. You've said it there. Say less, bro. Say less. Because
Shane actually wanted to come on and debate you, about it. He actually wanted
No, I'm not. Knowing Shane, we'd be here all night. And the other thing I said to you, Dale, is that you got to remember how I met Shane, yeah? How did I meet Shane? Remember when I met Shane?
Yeah,
Shane it was after the public workout that we had for one of, I think it was the Dillian White Rivas fight. They had a public workout, and that day I met Shane. Shane was in the park, basically telling everybody that Daniel Dubois was rubbish. And I remember that. So do you really? It's clear that the man's got an agenda against Daniel Dubois. So come on now. So probably that's not a good idea. I'm more than happy to debate him, but just not on this show. Otherwise, we'd probably be here all night. And I'm sure Daryl doesn't want that. He's got things to do.
Well, one thing I will say, maybe you could answer this as well then about that, because one of Shane's rebuttals on this low blow controversy was that we referenced those fights, right? With regards to Andre Ward and Kovalev and Zab Judah, Amir Khan. We referenced those fights, right? As something we could look at as precedent. But what the rebuttal from him was, and I've seen from a couple others, is that just because that counted when it shouldn't have, doesn't mean that this should have counted. And if you look at football, for example, I guess there are some red cards that count which shouldn't have counted, but they did, and then you have some that count that should have counted. They're still red cards. So does that change the argument in any way for you? The fact that
not really, because my point no, not really, Daryl. Because the point I'm trying to make is a lot of these people, including Shane, in fact, he's the one I'm calling out on this. He's very quick to rule Dubois shot low, right? But then when it was Andre Ward and Kovalev, and like I said, a lot of people said that the Andre Ward shot was very low. Shane never said anything like that. In fact, he was more than happy for the referee to count Kovalev out. So I'm saying you're being slightly hypocritical, surely. Because if you're saying that was the Dubois shot was low, take a look at the photo shots from those fights, and you see which punches are lower. And I'm telling you that Ward's shot is lower. And on the other two, the Terence Crawford, Amir Khan, and the Amir Khan Zab Judah were both borderline shots that got counted by the ref. But because the narrative in those fights was that Amir Khan was going to beat Zab Judah because he was whipping his ass anyway. Similarly, Terence Crawford was beating up on Amir Khan. So everyone said that Amir Khan quit. So this is what I'm saying, is fine lines. And people will tend to judge the situation with a great degree of prejudice. When I say prejudice, I mean, if you favor a certain fighter and that happens, you're going to say, "Oh, get up, man, you quit." Whereas if you don't, then you might look at it differently and say, well, actually, that was a legal shot.
Francisco says, yeah, there hasn't been a DR show for a while. Himanshu says, I can't wait for the show tomorrow. Yeah, I don't think we don't know if there's going to be one. I guess.
Yeah, at the moment, it's not looking good, because as I said, I'm being told from the hierarchy, the DR Sports hierarchy, that we have some staffing issues and they're trying to resolve it. But if someone's ill, then they're ill. And we got more than one person ill at the moment. So, yeah, we'll see how that goes. But like I said, if we are covering it, what I'll make sure that the social media team do is put something out there to let everyone know one way or the other.
Last one on this low blow controversy before we move on to the Smith EUBANK preview. Team Warren, Team Dubois, they're really set about going about this appeal. Do you think it will be successful or not?
No, I don't. No, you very rarely get that. I mean, when Tyson knocked down Buster Douglas and everybody said that was a long count, which it was. Don King at the time, it was Tyson's manager. They rigorously appealed it. They made a lot of noise. Nothing happened. When Deontay Wilder knocked out, well, I think he knocked out Tyson Fury. Again, that was a long count. They said they were going to appeal it and nothing happened. It would have to be something way more obvious for them to get anywhere. And I think they've also done themselves a bit of a disservice, especially Don Charles, by calling Usyk a cheat. I don't think that was the right way to go about it, to be honest, because a lot of people have said, I saw an interview with Shane McGuigan the other day, and he said something that a lot of people believe, which is that in a sport such as boxing, with so many characters of dubious intent, Usyk is probably one of the more honourable guys. So you calling him out like that, calling him a cheat and being very aggressive in the way you're throwing your accusations around, I don't think that helps them, you know what I mean? I think they needed to show a bit more humility. I mean, I can understand why Frank Warren is asking for the fight to be cleared a no contest. I think that's probably a wiser route to go down. But they should definitely try and get a rematch. But then we're hearing that the Usyk and Ergovic is locked in for later on this year. And I know you're sort of rolling your eyes to the sky, but to be fair to Ergovic, he's earned his spot, isn't he? Some people would say that Daniel Dubois didn't earn his spot for this fight. So, listen, at the end of the day, Daniel Dubois did as well as he could. I think he did okay, to be honest. I didn't think he'd do as well as he did, if I'm being as honest with you. He had his moments. He could have had that 5th round stoppage or knockout. In the end, he was well beaten, which is what we thought would happen, but we thought would happen a few rounds before that. It's a learning experience for him. He's got to learn. He's got to condition his mind a bit more. I don't know if you've seen some of the fallout coming out of the fight with regards to James Bashir, who was in the corner, and he's saying that mentally Dubois kind of checked out after that incident in the 5th round. I think Don Charles has said a similar thing, although not as obvious as James Ali Bashir has said it. But he said mentally Daniel kind of checked out, and we know that. Let's be honest, man. The knock on him is that mentally he's not the strongest when he's faced with adversity. So I think they might have to get some kind of mind coach on board for him. You know what I mean? It's a learning experience. He didn't win the fight. He wasn't the better man on the night. Usyk clearly was the better man, and he showed that in the end. But there are also positives he can take from it. I mean, he went into the Lions Den, took on a very good champion, had his moments, and he can come again. He's only 25. So I wouldn't be too despondent if I was Daniel Dubois. You know what I mean? He didn't do badly. But he does need to work on the mental side of his game, because I think, if I'm being honest, man, and I do like to be as honest as possible, I called out Ryan Garcia for it, so I've got to call out Daniel Dubois. To me, he quit because he got up when that count got to 9.5. If you could get up at 9.5, why didn't you get up at 5.5 or 6.5 or 7?
Well, he said that the count was misjudged, but I don't believe it. I'll be honest.
I don't know, man. And listen, and as I said to you, Darryl, if that was the case and he misjudged the count, or he thought the referee could have let him continue, he didn't seem to say anything to the referee after, did he?
Yeah, he didn't complain.
He went straight with the referee and say, "What are you doing?" You know what I mean? Like, he just seemed to walk straight to the corner, accept defeat.
Mm.
I mean, James Ali Bashir was saying that after the fifth round, they were talking to Daniel Dubois in the corner, and he could see that Daniel Dubois wasn't listening to them. He wasn't focused. In fact, James Ali Bashir said, and we've got to take him at his word, he was in the corner. He said he was looking for his dad in the crowd. You know what I mean? So that suggests to me that a fighter that wasn't focused in that moment, he'd let things get on top of him.
Hmm.
And we got to say that, I gave him a pass with the Joe Joyce thing, right? Whereas many people didn't. Then there was the Kevin Lorena fight where a lot of people, the rumors are, is that he wanted to check out after he got injured. And it was Shane McGuigan who virtually pushed him out there and said, nope, go out there and knock the guy out. To be fair, he did that. But what I'm saying is Daniel Dubois is a young man. He's not fully mature yet, either physically or mentally. And I think sometimes these fighters do a lot of work on the physical side of the game, but they need to do more on the mental side of the game. Some people don't need that. You've got your Tyson Furies who are super confident, you know what I mean, and they handle adversity very well in the ring. Other guys, not so. So you may need to bring on board a sports psychologist, a mind coach. And I say
Yeah,
that seriously. I'm not saying that to criticize. I'm just saying that that's an area of his game that he needs to work on in future.
yeah. Let's see how that see how it pans out, but I doubt it will be successful, man. Let's move on to the fight taking place this weekend, man. On Sky Box Office, Liam Smith against Chris Eubank Jr. 2. It's the rematch. Obviously, the first fight, Liam Smith knocked out Chris Eubank Jr. in 4 rounds. I don't think anybody, even those of us that were predicting Liam Smith to win, could have predicted an ending like that. So it's repeat or revenge. That is the slogan, as we know, for the rematch, of course. But it's pressure for Eubank Jr. for me. It's a big one for him because if he loses again emphatically as well, then where does he go in his career? I mean, he's 33 years old. Every time it seems that he stepped up against a not half decent because he's been in against good fighters, but every time he stepped up against a world level opponent, he's come on the back of a defeat.
Well,
So
he did retire James DeGale, who's a world level opponent.
yeah, he is definitely. But I think most of us will agree that he was at the end of his career. James DeGale was then. But yeah, this is a big night for him. Liam Smith as well, because there are still some people out there that feel that the best version of Eubank didn't show up, and that a better version of Eubank would still win. So Liam Smith is out there to prove that it wasn't a fluke. I'm looking forward to this. It's actually intriguing. This rematch is. I don't think it should be on Sky Box Office, but it is an intriguing rematch nevertheless. There's been a little bit of needle. There's still respect there, but a little bit of needle between the two. Eubank Jr. has obviously brought in Bomac, so he's trying to bring that winning mentality into his corner. Will that affect him going into this rematch? I'm not sure Bomac's had enough time to work with Eubank for that change, but we will see. Your thoughts on this rematch, man? Are you looking forward to it? How do you see it going? And yeah, give me your overall thoughts on it.
Yeah, I am very much looking forward to it. It's arguably the biggest domestic fight of the year so far. I'm really looking forward to it. And I must admit, I'm a little bit torn on this one because I picked Smith to win the first fight. And I was surprised, as you all were, when he basically stopped Eubank in the fourth round. I didn't see that coming. I thought it would be a war of attrition. And I thought that the better skilled fighter with the better fundamentals, which is Liam Smith, I thought that that would prevail. So to see him take Eubank out like that was quite a surprise. I definitely didn't see that coming. I mean, I know that, and Eubank has suggested that the weight cuts he had to do for that fight. Remember, he was supposed to fight Conor Benn, that fell through, so he came right down in weight, and then he had to jump straight into another training camp for the Liam Smith fight. And listen, those of us who know when you're cutting weight like that, especially when you do it drastically, it can reduce your punch resistance. So that may have been a possibility. I mean, Eubank cited the elbow. I'm not so sure about that, to be honest. But listen, this is another fight. And when the fight was first announced, I was like, yeah, man, you know what I mean, Smith again. But I must admit, and this does sometimes happen, as the fight's got nearer, and I'm seeing Eubank and I'm seeing how confident he looks and how well he's talking and all the rest of it, I'm kind of thinking, is it possible that he might get the win this time? You know what I mean? I don't know, man. It's a very hard fight to predict for me. You know what I mean?
Mm.
Because I am sensing that You see, one of the reasons why I predicted Liam Smith so strongly the last time is that I was saying to you, I remember doing a show with you prior to the first fight they had, and I remember saying to you, I'm not sure that Chris Eubank Jr. is fully focused on boxing. If you remember, he was talking about the Conor Ben stuff. He was talking about fighting YouTubers. Remember? Then we
Okay.
know he's playing all this poker stuff, and he was flying there, leading that celebrity lifestyle. And I said to you, I didn't think that his heart and soul was fully into boxing. You know what I mean? And I also cited the trainer situation. I thought that Roy Jones, hooking up with Roy Jones, I thought was disastrous. And I think that Roy Jones, as much as I love him as a fighter, one of the all-time greats without any shadow of a doubt, I think his credentials as a trainer do not come up to scratch, man, as far as I'm concerned. I mean, who else has Roy Jones trained that's done any good? And again, if you go online, as I have done on YouTube, you will see certain fighters call him out and saying he's not very good as a trainer. And that's something that I actually believe. So I had no confidence in that relationship. You know what I mean? So I actually think that Eubank bringing in Bomac is better than him staying with Roy Jones. Although I'm seeing where Roy Jones has said that for the second fight, Eubank didn't listen to him. Well, I guess he's going to say that, isn't he? But apparently he walked away rather than Eubank get rid of him. And now he's brought in Bomac. I think, listen, Bomac's not going to be able to do too much with Chris Eubank. But the one thing he can do is provide a bit of structure and get him to focus at the very least. Is it going to be enough? I'm not so sure, man. I wouldn't be surprised if Eubank won, but you know what? I'm going to have to stick with my original prediction and go for Liam Smith. I think he's fundamentally better. He's a better boxer. He's got better experience. He's fought the better fighters. And I trust his skill set more than Eubank. Eubank,
Yeah,
when he was younger and he was that wrecking machine and throwing all those punches and very athletic, you know what I mean, went for it, very aggressive. Obviously, as he's got older, he's had to adapt his style, but I'm still not 100 convinced. I'm 100% convinced. I'm going to go for Liam Smith. I do think this fight is going to be closer. It could be very close, but I just think the guy with the better fundamentals is going to prevail over 12 rounds in a fight of this magnitude.
yeah, I'm going with Liam Smith again for those reasons because I don't trust Eubank over 12 at this stage. He's not a better boxer than Liam Smith. I think we can agree on that. Stamina wise, I'm not sure if he's got better stamina than Liam Smith. I thought that the size issue might be a factor when I picked Eubank to win the first time round, but with that not being a factor, I just feel that Liam Smith has got the better fundamentals, the better discipline. For me, he's got the better stamina. He's shown that he could knock Eubank out the first time round. And listen, like Eubank Jr., yes, Bomac in the corner could be a positive for him. But if I look at his previous fights, I look at the fight, even the one he won against Morrison, that weren't that impressive for me. The one over Williams, you know, he looked very good in the opening few rounds, and then towards the end, tailed off a lot. So his
No, he was
performances,
actually running around the ring in the last round. Remember that?
yeah. So they seem to be. I'm not convinced over recent performances. Liam Smith has been in there with world class operators before. He hasn't won them all, but he's been in with them. And I just feel that, you know, I'm backing him to win this again. I think, like you said, it will be closer. I think it will be on points, but maybe a 115, 113, 116, 112. Eubank will have some bursts, but over the course of the fight, I think Liam Smith is more consistent, and I think that he will do enough to win. Outwork
Yeah, I
him.
think Liam Smith has got more tools in his armory. He's also a
Yeah,
big front foot fighter. Yeah, and I can envisage where Eubank gets off to a good start, similar to what he did in the first fight, incidentally. Yeah, it got off to a good start. And I can see Liam Smith coming in behind that high guard, um, getting out jabbed, maybe, getting out worked earlier on. But you know what Liam Smith does, man? He's a what I call an attritional fighter. And having watched him a few times up close and personal, I can tell you that this man is a hard bastard, man. He's spiteful in there, you know what I mean? So he will he will probably take a few shots early and it will look like he's losing. But, you know what I mean, he'll take those shots, he'll dig down, and then he will start to come on strong, I reckon, from say about the 5th or the 6th round on. And I reckon he'll wear Eubank down, either stop him, because I think Eubank, one thing about Eubank, you've got to give him credit for, he's also a hard bastard. And
Yes, yeah.
he will go for it because he knows that his career's on the line. I think both of their careers are on the line, really, to be honest, because imagine if Eubank does win, especially if he wins convincingly. Where does Liam Smith go from here? I'm not saying he's going to retire, but it will put a real dent in his aspirations. He wants to become a world champion again. I know that. He's on the record of saying that. But if you get beat by Eubank,
probably have a rubber match.
well, yeah, but his world title aspirations will definitely be on the back burner. And then you got to think about it as well. Middleweight, man, the middleweight division is quite open, really. Isn't it? Okay, you got Yanni Becker's champion. He's very good. But then you got the other belt, Jamel Charlo owns the belt, and Jamal Charlo, I should say. And he's pretty much done out here, you know what I mean? I reckon either Eubank or Smith would beat Charlo at this time. So whoever wins tomorrow, they're probably not going to want to engage in the third fight. They're going to want to try and push on and fight for a world title. Because the middleweight division, man, is not what it once was, if you know what I mean.
It's terrible.
Yeah. So whoever wins tomorrow, they're going to be looking at world titles. And the loser's going to have to be looking at dropping down a couple of levels, you know what I mean? If not retirement. I mean, Eubank has said if he loses, he might consider retirement. Actually, no, he didn't say that, didn't he? He didn't say that.
He got quite offended.
Yeah, he said next question. So there, but you know what I'm saying, right? So
I think
an intriguing fight.
I think your point about Liam Smith and the war of attrition, it means that I think that, listen, Eubank is tough as well. There's no doubt about it. We've seen him in it, but I'm thinking about that fight with Liam Smith and Anthony Fowler. You know, like look how we broke Fowler in that fight. Yeah. Smith is a tough man.
He broke Jesse Vargas as well before that.
Broke Vargas, remember? Yeah. Like, and I just think that educated pressure behind the jab, you know, he'll walk through. Like, I'm not saying he'll walk through Eubank because Eubank can dig, but I just think Liam Smith. The only time
I don't think Eubank's a big puncher, though. You know, I know he knocked out Abney Yildirim.
I've only seen Smith pieced up against Canelo. I only saw Canelo piece him up. Really?
Jaime Munguia looked pretty good against him. He dropped Liam Smith, didn't he? And he well beat him in the end. But he's got a very good chin.
Okay, yeah, I'll give you
Trust me when I tell you, man. I've watched this guy up close and personal, and he's a hard man, and he's spiteful with it too. You know, you know what I mean. So the difference is that both of them are tough. Both of them have got heart. Both of them are strong. But here's the crucial difference: Liam Smith has got better fundamentals. He can do more in the ring. I mean, I saw in the pre-fight press conference where Eubank was saying, I'm more intelligent in the ring than you, Liam Smith. I can fight more stars. I'm not so sure about that. I guess what Eubank is saying is that on the back foot, he's a little better. That's possible. But coming forward, Liam Smith is way better than Eubank.
He is. And Eubank normally, I big up Why Clinch Fight podcast here. First time I've seen you in the chat, so thank you for the comment. Yeah, we literally just said that he should be fighting for world titles and that the opportunity could be there if he wins on Saturday night. But for Liam Smith, for me, he was obviously a former WBO world champion anyway. But Eubank, I mean, he's known for throwing punches in bunches back in the day. He doesn't really do that anymore. Yeah. He was on the back foot a little bit, like we saw, likes to lead people on. You know, he does like pressure fighters, but Liam Smith is a different type of pressure fighter, as we've seen. He's not reckless with it. He's more educated behind the jab, and he applies the pressure differently. It's hard for me to form an argument, a strong one for Eubank, based on his previous performances and what happened in the last fight. It's hard for me to predict a Eubank win, and that's what I want to say to those people that were in the comments to me the last few weeks saying, "Oh, nah, it's a different Eubank round this time. We'll see what it like." I'm just like, based on what? Like,
but you know what? It probably is a different Eubank, but even that Eubank, I don't think is good enough to beat Liam Smith. I'm just keeping it real. You know, I've not seen him in the past couple of years. I've not been impressed with any of his performances. You mentioned the Marcus Morrison fight. You also touched on the Liam Williams fight. But you have to go back a long way to say, yeah, man, Eubank fought really well. Okay, in the Williams fight, he knocked him down something like 4 times. A couple of those are with jabs. But he didn't really press it home, did he? I mean, when he fought Liam Williams, if EUBANK was the EUBANK of a few years before that, he would have stopped Williams that night. You know what I mean? Because he was the kind of guy that when he had guys hurt, he used to pile on the pressure. And he's not a big one punch hitter, but the sheer volume and accuracy, he would get guys out of there. But he's not been showing me that. He was very unimpressive against Marcus Morrison. He had moments where he was very impressive against Liam Williams. But if you remember, in the last 2 rounds of that fight, he was literally running around the ring. And then when he was asked afterwards about that, he said, well, that was part of the game plan, and that, which was nonsense. You know what I mean? It was nonsense. So although he won, it was a little bit of a hollow victory for me because you didn't really you ended that fight on the back foot with Liam Williams standing in the middle of the ring, imploring you to fight, saying, come on, you know what I mean? Like, you knocked the guy down 4 times. You should be looking to get him out of there, bro. You know what I mean? So I just don't see it, man. I do think though, EUBANK is a man of courage. He's tough, he's athletic. He does have heart. I do believe him when he says that he's coming to win. But I still don't think that's going to be, at the end of the day, enough to win. I just think that Liam Smith, given how tough he is, given his experience, given the fact that he got the better fundamentals, I just think that in a tight fight like this, that will tell. And I can see Liam Smith winning a 1-1-5, maybe even a 1-1-6, 1-1-2. EUBANK will be in there at the end, but I just think that Liam Smith is his nemesis. He's just a better fighter, man.
My brother Big Lou in the chat. Good to see you here, my bro. Good having you on the show, man. He says here, big up Boxing Lowdown, but for some reason, I just think that EUBANK has it all to lose and he could pull it out the bag. I've got Smith on points, but I wouldn't be surprised if EUBANK wins because he has it all to lose. All good points there. Fair point.
Yeah, good points. And listen, I would be surprised, but I wouldn't be shocked if that makes sense. Because I do think that EUBANK's career is on the line, and I do like the way he sounded in the lead up to this fight. He definitely, remember the first fight when he's coming out with them corny lines about I only need to be at 60% and I'm going to cook him. And even when he was doing that, bro, I was like, bro, you're not going to cook nobody, bro. Like this, Liam Smith is not a guy you can just take lightly. Only one man stopped him, and that was Canelo. And that was Canelo in his prime, by the way. And that was with body shots. So when he was saying all that stuff, man, I was like, bro, do you really know what you're dealing with here, right? And he was quite insulting, wasn't it? He was way over the top. And
I think we all looked at it at the time like,
and thought, what are you talking about, bro? You know what I mean? Like, you're talking about Liam Smith like he's some little journeyman guy, you know what I mean? Come on. And you're not that guy anymore as well. You know what I mean? You're not that guy no more. Yeah. So I thought that was totally out of context. And he paid for it in the ring. Yeah. He clearly underestimated Liam Smith in that fight. When you're saying stuff like, you know what I mean, you're just straight up and down fighter. I borrowed that line from Floyd Mayweather, by the way. You know what I mean? Like, come on now. If you've been watching Liam Smith over the years, you will see that he's a very technically astute guy, very tough, good experience. And he's possibly the best out of those Smith brothers in terms of his skill level. Yes, Callum hits harder, right? But many people will tell you that out of the 4 brothers, Paul, Callum...
They weren't named Callum before, weren't they? It was like Callum and Liam, I think.
Yeah. But yeah, listen, man, it was always going to be a hard fight. So when I saw him in that first fight, just talking all that nonsense in his kitchen, I'm going to cook you. And I was like, bro, you better get in the gym and work on your technique. Because you're the one with the floor technique. You're the one that crosses your feet when you're going backwards. You're the one that drop your hands and, you know what I mean? And Liam Smith is just a better, fundamentally sound fighter. He's not exhilarating. He hasn't got great footwork. He hasn't got great hand speed. You know what I mean? He doesn't throw great combinations. But if you look at what he does, man, he's fundamentally very sound. And a lot of the people don't give him enough credit for what he does sometimes.
We'll wrap up with our prediction in a sec, but and then I want to move on to another rematch that we need to discuss, which Rosie will probably be sick about as well. But yeah, I've got Liam Smith on points. I did a prediction video, I uploaded it to the channel, and what you said earlier is exactly my final prediction. I said Liam Smith on points, 116, 112, or 115, 130. And I think EUBANK, I like his demeanor. I do like his attitude going into this. I'm just not sure if it's enough to pull out the win. But I do like his demeanor. I think it will be closer. But I'm edging Liam Smith on points.
Yep, same. Like I said, I've liked the way he's approached this fight. He seems to be taking it seriously, which is something you should do for all your fights, really. But he seems like he's taking Liam Smith seriously, giving him the credit he deserves up to a point. Um, I don't think the Bomac thing is as ridiculous as some people are saying, because let's be honest, man, the Roy Jones thing. You know what got it for me when I saw EUBANK, right, in the ring trying to copy Roy Jones. He was even doing things like holding his head to one side. Remember what Roy used to do? And
Yeah.
I just thought this is rubbish. Yeah, I mean,
Yeah.
so I actually think that although Liam Smith and several other people have said, "What is Bomac going to do for you in 4 weeks?" Well, I actually think that Bomac is a better choice for this fight than Roy Jones, because I just don't think he was going anywhere with. Right, I've yet to see any performances with those two that I could say, yeah, man, I could see what Roy Jones is working on.
Yeah.
At least with Bomac's come in, giving him a little bit of structure. I mean, EUBANK spoke the other day about he changed his approach to training. Again, it might not be enough in 4 weeks, but at least it's got him thinking different. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
If you lose, what you're supposed to do, man, is take the bones out of it. That's a bit like what I was saying about Dubois earlier. Learn from it and come again. You know what I mean? So at least he's showing that he's maturing in that sense.
Mm.
Unfortunately, though, you know what? In a way, I would like to see EUBANK win, because I do like EUBANK as a personality in British boxing. And I think if he wins, obviously it kind of revives his career. And maybe then he will show some true ambition and try and fight for a world title instead of calling out YouTubers. You know what I mean? Because he was definitely getting carried away with that celebrity lifestyle. But it's all on the line for him tomorrow, man. He has to win. Unfortunately, I can't see him doing it because, as I said before, I just think that Liam Smith over 12 rounds will just have that little bit too much for him. So I'm going
Yeah.
for a Liam Smith unanimous points decision. It could be fairly close on the cards, or it could be anything from a 115, 113 to a 116, 112. But it will be a competitive fight.
Let's move on to our next topic for the show. I've got 20 minutes left, so I want to make sure we squeeze it in before I've got another topic I want to cover with you before we go. But while Bomac was being interviewed yesterday, shout out to Pro Boxing Fans. I think that's the channel. Bomac was asked about Terence Crawford and Errol Spence, and Bomac did advise that Errol Spence has officially activated the rematch clause. Now, we haven't heard anything from Spence yet. I haven't heard anything from Showtime yet on this. But Bomac is obviously, his ear is going to be close to the street on it, being Crawford's trainer. So, yeah, it's looking like Spence. And the signs were always that Spence was going to do this anyway. So it's not too much of a surprise. But, yeah, a majority of us are going to feel like that this is not really warranted. It's not really needed. Shouldn't really be having this after how one-sided the first fight was. But it's looking like Errol Spence will pursue a second fight with Terence Crawford next. That could take place by the end of the year. I had to look at Errol Spence's socials to see if he's updated anything. But his most recent post that he put out was basically saying, I won't say it word for word because there's swearing in it, but he basically said that, we're built different, right? So all you lot telling me to do this and do that and retire, who raised you lot? You know what I mean? I'm built different. So he don't want none of your sympathies. He don't want any of that. He's looking to take care of business and have the rematch. So fighters, as we know, are built different. So I'm not surprised he's feeling this way. Even straight after the fight in the ring, he was like, we're doing it again. So it's not going to be appealing to me, probably not for you, probably not for most of us, but he's going to do it again. So it could be December. Your early thoughts on this, if it does actually happen?
Well, my first thoughts on this is that other than money, because obviously the rematch would generate a lot of money, other than money, what is the justification in a rematch? What did you see in that first fight to make you think, yeah, I want to see this again? You know what I mean?
Nothing.
Absolutely nothing. I mean, the guy got beat from pillar to post. He arguably had a share of the first round, and then after that, man, Terence Crawford just proceeded to beat him up, drop him, stop him, and make him look. It was a career worst performance for Errol Spence. And there is no way, based on what we saw in that first fight, that you can make a reasonable justification for a rematch. I guess the only thing you could say is, although, and to his credit, Errol Spence has not made any excuses, but certain people around him and certain people online have said, oh, he was drained at the weight. So my understanding is that the rematch is going to be at 154. But here's the problem. If you remember in that first fight, Terence Crawford struggled to make welter as well, didn't he?
Yeah.
From my understanding, and big up Shane because he was around, and he tells me, and I believe him, that it's rumored that Terence Crawford required at least 3 visits to the scales to make 147. I mean, Terence Crawford was recently talking about going up in weight to fight Canelo at 168. So he probably welcomes 154 for the rematch. He's probably thinking, yeah, man, don't want to fight at 147 anymore anyway.
Mm.
Listen, man, in a way, I admire Errol Spence for, wanting to get the get back. And yeah, he's a fighter and he's showing that warrior spirit. But sometimes warriors have to be saved from themselves, bro. You know what I mean? And I said to you after that first fight, I'd like to see Errol Spence retire from boxing because there were things I saw in that fight with Crawford that I didn't like, man. You know what I mean? I didn't like it at all. And then when you add on top of that what's happened outside the ring with the 2, not 1 but 2 car crashes, the alcohol abuse. Let's be honest, man. Errol Spence has been through the wars, the detached retina, the obvious slurring of speech. It's not a good look for me, man. It's just not a good look. I'd like to see people, maybe they did, maybe they didn't, I don't know, but people around him need to take him to one side and arguably ask him to retire. But instead of that, you're jumping straight in there. I mean, when's this rematch going to take place?
I was literally going to say that, man. It's so soon as well after that.
Yeah,
So, they're talking about end of the year. We're in September now.
So the man needs to take at least a year off boxing. I don't know if brain cells can recover, to be honest. But at the very least, you should give your body. He shouldn't be going near a gym. I mean, imagine him sparring again so quickly after what happened the other day. And these guys, they spar hard. You know what I mean? Like, it's just not, nah, man. No. I'm really disappointed, to be honest. There's a degree of hypocrisy here because if they do fight again, I'm definitely going to watch it. So I guess I'm being hypocritical, but I don't like him being in the ring. 1, so soon. 2, with Crawford. Nah, man. If you are going to come back to the ring, Errol Spence, he should have took about a year out and he should go up to a new weight and feel out that new weight. They've got to be so careful with him from here on in, man, because I think he's damaged goods. I really do. And I can't see any possible way he's going to beat Crawford. I mean, I predicted that Crawford would win the first fight, but I thought it'd be close. But it was anything but close. It was one-sided. And Errol, as much as I love him, man, he took a beating in that fight, bro. The
like
kind
you said
of beating
as well,
that most fighters, 99% of fighters, do not recover from.
like I said as well, 154, even if it's not Crawford, even if you do take time out, even if you do go to 154, you look at some of the sharks over there,
Yeah,
Castano,
exactly.
Dew, Lubin, Fundora, I'm just reading them off my head. It's not really a safe division either, man. It's not a division where you can chill. Like you're going up against guys. It's an issue, man. It's a concern. I'm concerned
It's a big
about it,
concern.
but he don't want our concerns. Errol Spence don't want it. He was actually quite spiteful in his response to fans that were concerned.
Yeah, because he, like you said, Darryl, he's a warrior and he's used to having things his own way in a ring. So it must be a bit of a come down for him to be in this situation. You know what I mean? You're on that exalted status, pound for pound lists and all that. And then you get your ass whipped in front of the whole world like that badly. I can understand he wants to come back in a blaze of glory. But I'm just thinking that if there were sound minds around him and people that, you know what I mean, he respects, which I'm sure he respects his trainer and family and people like that, I'd like to think that a couple of them around him are saying, man, I'm not even sure if you're getting back in the ring. But at the very least, you need to take a year out, let your body heal. Don't even think about taking punches for a good while. I mean, when Pacquiao got knocked out by Marquez, I think he took up to a year off, wasn't it? before he came back. Yeah.
This is a good comment. This is a good comment from Francisco here, because I've heard more than one person suggest that Spence should just jump all the way up to 160. But he says here, unfortunately, I do think Spence was drained. He stayed at welterweight for too long. I always thought Crawford would win, though. Spence should probably go to 160. He walks around at over 170.
Yeah. Yeah. I agree with pretty much most of that. Yeah, he did look drained at the weigh-in.
That's what Crawford said. He said, when I beat him, you lot are all going to say that. And you know, that he did say that, Crawford.
But here's the thing, right? Spence did look drained at the weigh-in, but so did Crawford. So did Crawford. You know what I mean? So, I don't know, man. You've seen Josh Taylor's another one, stuck around at light welter a bit too long. And he got soundly beaten by Teofimo, nearly got stopped in that fight. And look how much his stock has dropped since then. Now he's also talking about going up. But the problem is, once you've had beatings, they kind of stay with you. Yeah. You know what I mean? And I don't know, man. Like, so you're taking a rematch against a guy that absolutely beat you from pillar to post. Where's his confidence level going to be at? I mean, it's okay to talk confident, but come on now. When you actually get in the ring with a guy, it's completely different.
I think the only thing...
154 doesn't give him any advantage over Crawford. You know that?
No, I think the only thing that he can even remotely bank on is Crawford overlooking him.
And that's going to happen.
And Charlo and, you know, being taken in by the fame and everything. You know, that's the only thing.
Like, listen, Crawford, right? You saw the footage. Within days of him beating Errol Spence, Crawford was back in the gym. This guy is a consummate pro. Yeah. He's a gym rat. You know what I mean? And he's also grounded by the fact that he has a large family and, you know. So there's no distractions for him. Not the same level as there is with some other fighters. So I don't think he's going to take his eye off the ball. I think he's going to be complacent. If anything, his confidence levels will be through the roof. But I don't see it becoming complacency. I just can't see any possible way that Spence beats him. I just can't see it. Unless he lands a Hail Mary and knocks Crawford out. That's the only way he's going to win that. He's not going to outbox Crawford. He's not going to... The tactics for the first fight is, I'm going to break him. We saw in the first fight. That's not happening, bro. You know what I mean? That's not happening. I think that Crawford could go up to 154 and easily win a title at that weight. And I know you disagree, Darryl, but I think he's capable of beating Canelo at a catch weight. Maybe not 168, but I don't know. Because Canelo's on the slide. Make no mistake. Canelo is on the slide. Great fighter, but he's on the slide, which is why Canelo don't want to fight certain man. I mean, all these people are always jumping on my case. Yeah, Laurie, he's only because he's Mexican, he's not black. Bro, look at what Canelo is basically telling you by the opponents he's selecting. That tells you that the man is not at that level that he was a few years back. He's not being overly ambitious in who he wants to fight. Man's calling out Jamal Charlo, right? He ended up with Jamel Charlo. You know what I mean? Before that, he took on John Ryder, which was a very nice kind of mandatory defense. You know what I mean? He's running a mile from Benavides because he knows what time it is, man. You know what I mean? But anyway, we won't dwell on that.
Yeah, we'll see what happens. Obviously, nothing official yet, but it's looking like that will happen. Spence activating the rematch clause. Last one before we go. Obviously, I have to bring this up. You know, we do it at the beginning of each show, but we're going to do it at the end of the show. I'm not sure if you saw my fantasy matchup for this week, but let's quickly get your thoughts on it before we go. What do you think about this one?
Wow.
Uploaded to my channel. Uploaded it early this week, so you can see.
In another life, you could be a matchmaker, man. You know what I mean? Because that is that is an amazing fight.
Before I get your opinion, I'll say this, because Calzaghe, he fought at 168 for the majority of his career, right? He did fight at 175 towards the end. Bivol is a 175 pounder, but you know, he has said that he can move down to 168 in the past. So
maybe they could do a catch weight.
Yeah, let's call this a catch weight. Yeah. Calzaghe, Bivol, prime for prime. Your opinion. I want to hear it.
Boy, it's a tough one, man. But you know what? I'm gonna have to lean towards Kawasaki, man.
Mm.
I'm gonna have to lean towards a prime Kawasaki with the amount of punches he threw, the chin he had, the engine. Never seen that
He
guy
got
get
dropped
tired.
a couple times. He got dropped a couple times,
Yeah,
Kazagi.
he did. He did. Yeah, yeah. It'd be a
But you
close
know,
fight, man, because I do rate Bivol. You know what I mean? But I think overall, I mean, I know Bivol's still fighting, so. But Kawasaki, man, that's a beast right there. And he was skillful as well. He had the heart. He had everything, man. I think in terms of British fighters, the two that stand out for me as the best British fighters in my lifetime probably be Lennox and Kawasaki. You know what I mean? So,
yeah,
I mean, Lennox, one of my all-time favorite fighters, but Kawasaki is not far from behind. I'll tell you a quick little story about Kawasaki, right? And it's a true
yeah.
story.
Go ahead. Mm.
So I've got a mate of mine, Alan Baptiste. Shout out to Alan Baptiste if you're watching this fight. He was a pro. He was been in there with Michael Watson. He's a sparring partner for Nigel Benn, and he's done the rounds, man. You know what I mean? He's been around a long time. And he said to me that one time he was called in as a sparring partner for Joe Kawasaki. He told me this story years ago, and I still remember it vividly. And he said, Laurie, in all my years of boxing, I've never come up against anything like this guy. I goes, what do you mean? He goes, well, I just couldn't. He goes, the man was just hitting me from all angles and I didn't know where the punches was coming from. He goes, I've never felt so helpless in the ring. I'm paraphrasing a little bit. The language is a bit stronger than that. But that's what he said. He goes, Laurie, it was amazing. And at that time, Alan was still fighting. He was still half decent. He said, Laurie, I've never seen anything like it. The guy was just hitting me at will, punches from all angles, and I couldn't do nothing against him. And he said to me straight, he goes, I've been in there with Nigel, I've been in there with Michael Watson, I've been in there with several good fighters, and no one's done that to me. So,
Amazing.
you know what I mean?
Wow.
That tells you.
That's an amazing story. That
And that would have been a very young Kawasaki as well.
yeah,
You know what
yeah,
I
it would
mean?
have been. Mm.
And Alan, I always remember him telling me that. He said, Laurie, I've never seen anything like it. Because remember, Kawasaki was a southpaw.
Yeah.
And he must have thrown a couple hundred punches around in his prime, you know what I mean? So, yeah, I'll give the edge to Kawasaki. But that's not to say that Bivol has no chance because he's a quality fighter, as he's shown over the years, still unbeaten. Trying to get that fight with Beterbiev. I don't know why that's not happened. Probably will never happen at this rate. But yeah, man. But yeah, that is another good one, though. Yeah, well done.
Yeah,
It
appreciate
should
it,
be a
man.
matchmaker for Frank Warren and Eddie Hearn and Ben Shalom.
Hey, give me the opportunity, man. I'll do it. You know?
Reach out to them, man. You never know.
Yeah, you never know. But yeah, that's it, man. Wraps up for the show today. We said it'd be an hour. I know you've got a lot to do this evening, so we'll let you go. But
Just
yeah,
a quick one for you. Just a quick one for you. I'm digressing because it's football, but I'm seeing on my timeline that Sambi Lokonga is going to Luton. Ex-Arsenal player, now at Luton. That's good news for Luton, right?
that's great for Luton, man. Big up my hometown. Obviously, I'm an Arsenal fan, but you know, I do have a love for Luton, of course.
Yeah, myself as well, man. I mean, Luton have not made the best of starts, but they're playing West Ham,
Tonight,
and I'm hoping they can get a win. Yeah, I'm hoping they can get a win, but it's going to be tough because West Ham actually made a very good start to the season. So,
Kenny's going to be bouncing tonight, man. I'll
yeah,
tell you
man. Yeah. I mean, I'm busy with work here, but I will try and watch some of it. I've recorded it. So as I said at the start of the show, man, it's a big sporting weekend, big Premier League matches, including that Luton game. And of course, tomorrow, man, we get a chance to see whether EUBANK can revive his career. We'll see how he does.
Francisco, before you go, Randy Turpin. I know you mentioned.
Yeah, I did say, yeah, that's a good shout, but I did make it clear that in my generation, in my lifetime, yes. But clearly, Randy Turpin, he beat, for me, Sugar. Even though I never saw Sugar Ray Robinson in the flesh, but he's the greatest fighter of all time. Him and Muhammad Ali. So for him to beat Sugar Ray Robinson like that, I think if I remember rightly, Sugar Ray Robinson was on some kind of world tour, and Britain was one of the last places on his tour. I think he slightly underestimated Randy Turpin and paid for it. And then he beat Randy Turpin in the rematch. They had a rematch about 6 months later because that's how they did it in them days, man. You know what I mean? This fight and then, you know what I mean? But big up to Randy Turpin. He's from Leamington Spa, I believe, which is near Coventry.
Yeah. Yeah.
Me, so.
Yeah.
But yeah, man. Yeah, definitely. Randy Turpin was a great British fighter. We've had lots of great fighters in Britain, but as I said, in my lifetime, watching guys, in my lifetime, to me, the two that stand out are Lennox and Joe Calzaghe. There's been some great ones, Nigel Benn, Froch, numerous guys, Lloyd Hannigan, loads of man. Too much to mention, but those two would be at the top of anyone's list, I would have thought.
All right, we'll end it there, man. Right, big up to everybody. Hope you all have a great weekend, and we'll try and get a show like straight after the fight or on the Sunday.
Yeah, man, I'm down. I'm down with it, man. I'm down
we'll
with
do
it.
something like that, man.
I'm sure there'll be lots of talking points.
Yeah, so we'll get that in there. But in the meantime, guys, enjoy your weekend, and we'll catch you all very soon. We'll catch you after the fight. See you then.